Melbourne's fears around Max Gawn were realised today. Not as bad as it might have been with the syndesmosis. I think I said Frank earlier. The syndesmosis injury.
Yeah.
Not surgery, but 3 to 5 weeks in a really interesting stretch in Melbourne's season.
Well, they've got to find another way. I think they've been running on 3 cylinders for about 4 weeks now. It's been Gawn, Oliver and Petrarca. Outside of those 3, I don't think there's been many other winners. And I'm talking absolute frontline winners. There's been contributors, good game here, good game there. You know, Fritsch has kicked probably 10 goals in the last 3 weeks or 4 weeks, but they haven't been the levels that Max has been. And I think this is over to you now, Stephen May. You owe this football club. Now's your time to repay immediately. In the next couple of weeks, take control. They're not going to win games at clearance from now, I don't think. They're not going to win games at contest, so they might have to win a few games through absolute defence. And that's where Stephen May is so important. You look at the ladder, Brisbane, Melbourne and Fremantle all 10-3. Carlton looking to get to 10-3. Geelong are coming really hard. The next 3 weeks is big for Melbourne. They actually, you can see it there. Brisbane at the MCG, you'd think they'd beat Adelaide in Adelaide, but you never sign off anything. And Geelong in Geelong. I mean, who would have thought 3 weeks ago we'd be talking about them potentially falling out of the top 4?
Yes.
That's what we're talking about, isn't it?
It is. So they've been so stable over a lengthy period of time, and they maximise that to play some of the best footy that we've seen at the end of last year. They were riding a wave into this year. There were caution signs that you'd signalled, that Joey had signalled, and now they're very real. This is a fascinating little phase for them. We haven't
really seen Melbourne without Max regularly. He's missed 4 games, I think, in 5 years. So Luke Jackson, you know, a big opportunity for him to show why the boom recruit talk is around him. You know, what's he worth? What's his value? Maybe we find out.
So the watch list was first really to signal that Melbourne weren't going as swishly as was broadly thought. He wore a little bit of ridicule, Joey.
I did. I wished Robbo was here tonight. Yeah. He giggled at me a little bit.
That's why he's not here.
Maybe.
The two of you have been pretty resolute, pretty insightful on that front. So now it's life without Max.
Yeah, and it's a massive challenge, isn't it? Come with me here, Joey. I think that Max does so many different things for this group. He's more than just a ruckman. He's more than just an intercept mark. He's more than just a target going inside 50. He's all of those things. And it's quite bizarre to talk like this about one player, but if you have a look at the way they score, and they score heavily from contest and clearance. Yep. So plus 15 points a game over the last 6-7 weeks on the competition, on their direct opponents, which is number 1 in the competition and by a fair way. And Max Gawn at centre bounce clearances with his hit-out work, it sort of has to be seen to be believed. And you normally have to see it on replay. But those influences there, 1-1 since round 7, are because of Max. There's a little bit of Luke Jackson there, but not much. And I know you're hitting it to Petrarca and Oliver, who's had an unbelievable clearance here again. But let's have a look at some of the hit-outs that we're talking about, because this is what you're not going to have for a block of football. We hope it's 3 weeks, but it could be as many as 5 or 6. You know, and is he going to be able to come back in and do this straight away? I don't know. We don't have the answers. We don't have a crystal ball. But these sort of hit-outs, they give you a pure exit, a pure inside 50, and more often than not a score. And it's up to your forwards whether they can convert that into a goal. So Max is responsible for 46 points directly from hit-out work, from centre bounce hit-out work, since round 7, which is not just number 1 the comp, it's number 1 by miles. Can't replace that, can you?
No, you can't. No, and he's so influential with, as you said, the impact that he has at the clearances, but it's also the contest stuff, isn't it, around the ground, that's important, both behind the ball and in front of the ball, because they also score a lot off their long-to-contest play. That is their other mode, and he generally is the target long down the line as well. So they're going to need someone that's going to be prepared to do that.
So when you look at the opposition trying to bring the ball out of their defensive 50, you've got to get past Max. Yeah. So across the last same period, since round 7, he's number 3 in the competition at taking intercept marks between the arcs. This is the toughest ball to win on the ground. Everyone talks about inside 50. If you can stop the opposition moving the ball and drive it back in, you get the game played the way you want. No pressure on your back half, no pressure on individual matchups, and you can have some fun. Particularly if you mark the ball there near the half-back flank area. Plenty of space to go back into, and Melbourne get their running game going. So I think that he'll be more missed for this facet than the hit-out stuff.
Yeah, spot on. And Luke Jackson isn't really a contested mark player, is he? So he's going to be the number one ruck, but he doesn't take those big pack contested marks either offensively or behind the footy to shore it up.
So this is your core forward here.
Yeah, it is. And it's easy to see that they're brilliant. They can win the flag at any point because of their clearance and contest work. But last year, they were 1-1 with the footy and without. Okay, so that involves all sorts of punish when you've got the ball, wherever you find the football on the ground, and however. And then without the footy, they weren't just one last year, they were bulletproof last year. So they're going to have to win another way. In the next 4 to 5 weeks, and this is why I say it goes back maybe to Stephen May. Maybe you have to now defend for your lives and find a different way to win. Do you think they can do it?
I think they can recapture their football. I think they've got time. So I think they know what they need to do. When you've been a premiership team, you know what you need to do. So that's at least one part of it compared to some other clubs who are still trying to figure out. The question is, can they get back to that and be as dominant as they were? Because the competition is much more even. It's not as easy as it was last season for them. So they've got their work cut out.
Now, the way you've set this up is you want to be a master blaster in cricket. That was my childhood, but you don't want to be a master blaster in footy, Joe.
No, you don't want to be a master blaster. And we just saw there the call for it. Melbourne have been 10th with the footy the last 6 weeks. And in particular, I want to look at the last 4 weeks because we know that they're struggling to convert when going forward. There's been a lot of talk about their forwards. But they're 18th in the competition in the last 4 weeks for converting an entry into a mark. And it's not just the forwards' fault. A lot of it has to come back to the kickers. So these two are both top 5 players in the competition. We all agree with that. And they're the number 1 and 2 players for kicks inside 50 in the last month. But that number there stands out. Only 2 of them have been marked in their last 52 kicks inside 50. So I went and had a look to see, is it the forwards? Is it the midfielders? What is it about the connection?
Oh, naming names. I like this.
There's a lot of this going on. So there's a lot of blasting the ball from a long way back from both these two boys, and I think they're better than that. I think that when you look at these, they've got a lot of time and space. I mean, that's a bit of a nothing entry from Clayton Oliver. So in the first 9 weeks of the season, Clayton Oliver was the number 1 score-assist player in the competition. He was averaging 2 a game. In the last 4 weeks, he's had 152 possessions. 1 of them has led to a direct score-assist, so coming from his possession. And Petrarca, in the last month, he's had 23 inside 50s. 16 of them have actually gone to the opposition. The opposition have won the ball back 2 out of 3 times. So I think these two have just got to start getting back to just lowering the eyes, being a little bit more composed. And I think what's happened is that there's a dual effect. I think the forwards start going, well, I know they're just going to bomb it long. So they're not even really hitting up at some of these kicks. They're not even presenting because it's almost becoming predictable for the forwards. So I just think that these two, they're too good of players to be just doing that. I mean, Clayton Oliver could have taken a bounce and had a shot if he wanted. He should be finding a better option. So I want to put on the 2 superstars of that team. When they've got ball in hand, the game's in control. They're in control of the game. I think they need to have better looks going forward.